So we look then at the poem Give by Simon Armitage, a very punchy and powerful poem. First of all, we've got the enjambment, the caesura at the top here. So they've got the word dear of all the public places, dear, and then the enjambment there just makes us hold on that word and makes us think, why is the person addressing us in that way, and or addressing the persona who's talking to in that way. And the reason is because it's a play on the words of a film, same in the next stanza as well. And you've got the caesura down here, which really breaks up these lines in this last stanza, which kind of really is broken and just shows like this person's maybe finding it hard to keep together and has to keep things very concise and very punchy to kind of withhold their feelings, and that's how it feels. It's also broken the whole way through, very, very short stanzas, etc., and perhaps it's reflecting the state of the asker and showing that they're just not very comfortable. So the first two are kind of jokey, and then it kind of builds a little from that, and obviously we see the tone change from this almost happy and jovial here, and then almost this kind of intense asking down here, or pleading down here at the bottom, which kind of is broken the whole way through, so we don't really get a real sense of who it is. We get a lot more of their tone and their feeling throughout than we do of their actual persona or their ideas. You've got the dash used here to show excitement when actually mentioning the things that are actually done, the more complex items that are done. So for coppers, obviously you've got the idea of dancing and singing. Silver, obviously it's one more, and the gold, and the dash there just really helps us to think about the grandiosity of what they're actually about to do. Obviously it gets higher and higher, and obviously the structure is first person the whole way through. This is a person talking to us, and obviously that gives us a reflection of what they're trying to say, and that's reflected obviously by the repeat use of I all the way through. So what are the meanings then? Well, one of the things first of all is the poverty. I'm on the street and under the stars, and obviously that's given us an indication of what kind of person we're dealing with. And also when he actually says the I and the reference for what is being done, the only thing he I references is the dancing or singing. You know, they're not massively challenging items in the way that the rest are coming are, and he says that's what he does, and he only receives coppers for it. So he does receive poverty, and there's almost a hierarchy kind of there amongst the street performers, etc. We've got the idea again in there of the extent of what one may do. Now first of all, one may do for money. So first of all, you've got the idea there of all the different people and what they do as street performers to earn money. Perhaps that might be homeless, etc., or at least street performing to earn money from people's attention and entertaining people. But moreover, you've got the idea of what someone will do down here, where it's on my knees. Obviously this person here is begging, whereas in the beginning they were actually trying to be almost humorous by using almost these filmic references from Casablanca, and so the idea is they're really playing on the film Casablanca there. And then we've got this idea here of social responsibility, because it makes us think, well, you know, what do we do to help people? Maybe the message coming through is that if we all did our little bit and all gave like our coppers, etc., tried to look after people, then perhaps there wouldn't be people in this situation. Perhaps that point is being made. So the images we get obviously are the homelessness. I'm on the street and under the stars, and obviously on the street there is, but in terms of begging and probably living at night, and under the stars obviously is referencing the people who seem just to have brighter, grander lives than him, and obviously under the stars in a literal sense where he's sleeping at night. We've also got the idea of the religious imagery, which comes from the it's not as if I'm holding out for frankincense or myrrh. Obviously religious images because of the gifts that are given to baby Jesus in Christian theology. The idea there, obviously, like he's trying not to ask for the world. He's not asking for something that only happened once in a lifetime. He's not kind of holding himself as that special. He just wants, something to here again change, which again links to that idea of social responsibility we mentioned earlier. And obviously we've got the person begging on the image, etc. So basically, obviously we know this because it's a public scene, and obviously he's choosing to do something there, and it's coppers that he normally gets, and he's actually asking the person for something, and he actually says, I beg of you again, and obviously he's on his knees. So this is quite a desperate play. So moving on then to the language, you've got I repeated the whole way through, which kind of really makes you've got I repeated the whole way through, which makes us very empathetic with the reader, because they're obviously appealing to us directly. And if you count the amount of words, and you actually take the amount of word times the I is repeated, it's actually quite a lot considering. So it makes it very personal that they're talking to us. We've also got the build of value in the language, the way we build for coppers, for silver, for gold, and obviously that's a kind of an interesting building. So maybe we get an insight into some of the hierarchy of the street performers, etc., and who makes the most money. The word dear here right at the beginning, this could be part of his act, and I don't mean act as in this person isn't begging or isn't in need. I just mean it's maybe he kind of goes for trying to entertain, and obviously we get that from the fact that he says he dances and sings, and maybe his reference to kind of film here, or kind of being charming with this word, is kind of very interesting. Again, it offers a great contrast with how he is at the beginning. So he's kind of lost all the warmth and charm that is there, and at the end he's left begging. And we've also got the monosyllabic last couplet, which again the language of which is very desperate. You give me tea, that's big of you. That's all monosyllabic, so it's really just kind of dropping to a real baseness in language as well as a baseness in request. Again, sad. So what kind of things does actually make us think about then, with regards to the effect on us and things that we can extend? Well, giving to others, obviously, what they may need, how they can be helped, etc. in society, the lives of the poor, what kind of conditions that they're actually in, and how they live. A warning perhaps that we need to try and do something in society so more people don't end up like this. And obviously it gives the idea of the change of moods. Maybe something can be affecting something where their mood changes very quickly, as this person is actually undergoes here from the very top to the bottom.